Hi everyone, today let's talk about Meta earnings. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So Meta fell off a cliff, falling 18% on earnings. You can see they did post better than expected earnings, but headcount declined by 10%, and you can see down 15% after hours, not great. Earnings per share beat by quite a bit. Revenues were pretty much in line, and they were growing on those revenues, but that was not enough to maintain the valuation. The stock had gone up really significantly over the past couple of months, and the company also said that they are no longer going to report daily active users or monthly active users, but now they're going to use family activity, which is pretty interesting. This is in line with what we saw from Netflix, and on the back of that, Netflix went down quite a bit as well. So we'll see how this continues to play out. And you can also see here they are continuing to pull back revenues from the digital market, which continues to see weakness. And advertising revenue jumped 25% for Facebook. So pretty much everything seems pretty good here. I'm a little bit surprised that they're falling so much. It's got to be on the back of that daily active and monthly active user reporting change. Moving over to fear and greed, you can see we stepped up to a 41, and really there's been no changes here today. Everything is still in the same range that it was yesterday. Didn't move a whole lot, but I do suspect that this is going to go down pretty substantially for tomorrow on the back of that Meta earnings. Plus we have Google and Microsoft coming in hot. Moving over to seasonality, we are still in that bullish period, but it seems like we're getting this pullback right here. So we had the rally, starting to see some of that pullback, and then we'll see if we get that continuation higher into the end of the month. Moving over to earnings, you can see Meta beating on the top and bottom. Thermo Fisher, same thing. IBM missed on the top line, but beat on the bottom. AT&T, same thing. Boeing beat on both. Lost a little bit less money than expected, which is good. General Dynamics missing on the bottom line there. And overall, again, things seem to be doing pretty well. Ford Motor beating on the bottom line, missing on the top. But most things are generally in line with expectations, if not a little bit better. And then you can see Microsoft, Google, Merck & Co., T-Mobile, Caterpillar, Comcast, Intel, all coming in tomorrow. And most of those are after hours. And then looking at Friday, we do have a couple oil and gas companies coming in. Nothing that's going to move the markets big though, just watching Chevron and ExxonMobil. Moving over to the economic calendar, month over month durable goods beat for the headline number, missed a little bit on the core number. Previous numbers were revised down, so slightly bearish on the economic data. Then looking at tomorrow, we do have GDP in the morning. That's going to be big. Then you got pending home sales here at 10 o'clock, initial jobless claims like always, and then Fed balance sheet at 16:30. Looking at Max Payne, really nothing changed here. 504, price closed around 506. Total options 1.38. Put call ratio still quite high. 500 level should be support. We'll see how that plays with earnings tomorrow morning after Meta gets fully priced in, and then Google and Microsoft tomorrow as well. So that can absolutely push us through these put walls. But right now, 500 would be your support. Moving over to the charts, starting off with the S&Ps, you can see we did get a bit of a down move. So we were negative on the day, 0.05, so not a lot. But then you can see after hours that Meta move taking markets down. 55 EMA there at 501.36. That needs to hold. If that breaks down, then we're probably headed right back to these previous lows. And that trend line down around 494.23. Daily momentum, however, still stepping to the upside. So based on that, you would expect it to follow through, and this should be a higher low. But again, Meta could break that structure to the downside, and we have Google and Microsoft coming up. And moving over to the Tasty charts here just for a moment, you can see that ATR stop right at 499.01. That is an interesting zone. That is where you would need to hold up if we're going to stay in bullish conditions. So we did get the reversal on this move higher, need to hold that as a higher low and then potentially push from there if it's going to go higher. If that level doesn't hold, then we're going to be in sideways chop or potentially more bearish price action. Moving over to the NASDAQ, similar thesis, big move down, 55 EMA, testing that after hours, getting a slight bounce. A little bit concerning for sure on that Meta down move, but momentum here on the daily chart is still bullish. Of course, that's not factoring in the Meta down move, so we'll see how that looks in tomorrow's price action. Would really want to see a move back above 421.92. Then we'll see how that plays going in. Are we going to see a higher high or a double top if we get the move back above that level and a continuation higher? And then similarly here on the 4-hour chart, you can see we pushed back into the middle of the range. ATR stop 441.49, need that zone to hold. Didn't quite get there, and we're up a little bit from that level after hours. Momentum still bullish here on the 4-hour chart. So definitely mixed price action based on that hourly chart, but the 4-hour and the daily still say that this should be bought up. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, you can see the Russell Tesla was down 0.54 inside candle, so that's not good, rejecting off that 198.75 level. And the trend line, momentum still good. We haven't seen a reversal there. So this could just be that short-term pullback that we talked about. 195.15 is still your support after testing that resistance twice in the last 2 days. And then similarly here on the Dow, inside candle, down slightly. Want to see 382.20 hold. Momentum continues to roll to bullish, so we should see a little bit more swing. Even if we get a little bit of a down move over the next couple of days, should be a short-term pullback and then a continuation higher. Moving over to the Mag 7, you can see we hit that 55 EMA. Momentum continues to roll to bullish here. But jumping to that 4-hour chart, you can see that move on Meta affecting the Mag 7 quite a bit down to the trend line. We didn't test that. That's actually a lower low than this previous low from Friday. So gave back all of that move over the last 2 days. Testing the trend line, didn't quite get to the 200. That's at 317.84. But if this continues to break down here, that's going to take markets with it, in my opinion. So continuing to watch the Mag 7 pretty closely, and you can see based on that volume profile, if this area breaks, there is really no support down until that 300 area, which would be a pretty substantial drop even from current price. Moving over to Apple and Tesla, these two coming back to life here today. Apple up 1.27. Tesla obviously gapped higher on their earnings yesterday. I put out a video about them as well. So they rallied up and held most of those gains. You can see it was a doji. It's down a little bit after hours, but still holding above the trend line there. Still between the 9 and 21 EMAs, momentum rolling to bullish. Both of these look pretty good going into tomorrow's session. Tesla had definitely been oversold, and you can see volume ramping on this buying. Apple, it looks okay. You can see a much higher RSI read on this most recent dip low relative to these previous lows, so clear divergence happening there. Let's go ahead and extend out these downtrend lines. So you can see we got back above the one of them, testing the second one. Want to see these push above, hold that level, and then push. Right now it looks okay. Momentum swinging to bullish, RSI above the SMA. Moving over to Amazon and NVIDIA, you can see these two continue to move in lockstep, and they were both down on the day pretty substantially, 1.64 and 3.33%. Still holding above the previous lows, but not by much, and you can see NVIDIA closing below yesterday's candle. And you can see the next low 759 and then that next support 741. So NVIDIA not looking super great structurally, and that is definitely concerning. Amazon at support needs to hold here. Moving over to Meta and Netflix, you can see Meta down 0.52 on the day, but you can see that massive gap. Let's go to the 12-hour. Huge move down on earnings. Pretty much round tripped that entire earnings move from their last announcement. You can see here, massive candle up, took it to that 485 area, and then we closed around 495, and it took us right back to that 410 area. So big move down. 404, 491 did get tested. That is a critical support. Certainly could hold that, but you can see big round trip on that, big structural break. And if this continues lower, that's going to be very weak for markets. Meta has been one of the best players in markets along with NVIDIA, and now it's down 17%. And then moving over to Netflix, 3.92% to the downside here, still holding right in that same consolidation, highly traded zone. Super important zone. Need this to hold. You can see RSI is doing a little bit better. And I'm actually going to move this level here. I think it's probably right there, realistically. Putting that level at 551.17, continuing to test that zone seems more important. And then you got the trend line down here around 535. If it breaks down, though, could be a very similar move to Meta. You can see how similar they are. Big gap up and rally. Now we gap down and fell. Didn't round trip the whole move, but if this zone breaks, it's certainly a possibility. Moving over to staples and discretionary. Staples rallying aggressive again, 0.79. Got back above that 75.40 level, looking to those most recent highs, and then 75.50 would be the next one. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish. Everything looks good here on staples, and then discretionaries continuing higher on that Tesla move. Tried to get above 174.76. Couldn't do it and rejected. Now you're in a bit of a sideways consolidation. Highly traded zone, 173.25 as support. Moving over to transports and financials, you can see transports took an absolute dump here today. 2.4%, took out that previous low, and it's down a little bit more after hours. That is very concerning. Transports tends to be a little bit of a leading indicator, and if transports are moving below that previous low, that could mean that markets are set to go a little bit lower than my previous thesis. Financials, however, holding up quite well, only down 0.02, still holding that 21 EMA, and this still looks like it could go higher. Might just need a little bit of a pullback in time and then a rally from there. Moving over to breadth, you can see we were basically flat at resistance. So 36.60 still holding as resistance, 21 EMA right there, 40.44. Momentum still bullish. Momentum on the 50 still rolling to bullish as well. And you can see 50-day breadth actually did continue a little bit higher. whereas 20-day breadth did take a pause. Right now it seems like we're probably going to see a little bit of a dip low, higher low setup, and then rally. Just seems like what we're looking at. Momentum seems to be fading a little bit. Doesn't mean we won't go higher eventually, but seems like we just need a little bit of a pullback. Moving over to bonds, you can see J&K pulling back from resistance. That is also concerning. Still holding above that 93.67 level, so it's still at support. Momentum still looks good. RSI still looks okay. But again, seems like we're probably going to see a pullback at least a little bit. And then looking at TLT, similarly here, gap down and wicked lower, tested the trend. We'll see if that holds. But bonds are looking a little bit weaker going into tomorrow's session. Let's go ahead and extend out this trend line here. You can see we're still within that zone. Couldn't get above it. Still holding the support. Moving over to the 2-year and the 10-year yield, you can see the 2-year going lower and the 10-year going higher. So we're finally pushing a little bit more towards normalized conditions. Definitely interesting. We're not that far off now with this most recent move in the 10-year, separated by about 0.3%. And if we actually get that cut in September, maybe we start to see that 2-year actually pull back a little bit and the 10-year hold at these levels. Right now, 2-year looks a little bit bearish, 10-year still hanging in there as slightly bullish. Moving over to the dollar, you can see we did get a little bit of a bounce here. I still think this is going lower, and you can see momentum still fading towards bearish conditions. But at this point, it's starting to look a little bit like a bull flag. Throw some lines on it, and you can see what I'm talking about. Big move higher, starting to see a bit of a bull flag forming. And if this holds in there and breaks higher like you would expect on a bull flag setup, that could be absolutely catastrophic for markets. Let's go ahead and see what that price target would be. So measure to the top of the flag, go ahead and copy that. And then from the breakout, you would expect a push to that next level. If the dollar were to make that move, you would see a push up to that 108 area and above this previous high. If we do get a move like that, that is absolutely going to be bearish for equities, and I would expect equities to break down to new lows if that does come to fruition. So interesting setup there, something to watch for sure. And you can see if we get above that level, this is the low from October and November that we did get that really strong move off of. You can see the dollar is starting to flirt with those levels, and equities have not broken down anywhere near to those levels. Moving over to volatility, move index perking up a little bit, VIX holding at support. Momentum still bearish, so if it did rally up again, you would expect a lower high and then a bigger breakdown. But it is at support, could absolutely see some upward movement from there, which does fit with a slight pullback and a higher low setup. Moving over to my accounts, you can see they did take out that after hours move already. So that is a pretty substantial move. It's about $500 per share after hours on 200 shares. So that dropped me down about $1,000. I think realistically, this is supposed to be closer to 130,000 or a little bit higher than that, especially once these call credits come in a little bit. You can see I rolled down and in to 424 for 5 days from now, and I did drop off 200 shares at the end of the session prior to this move. So shouldn't be too aggressive, but these numbers just need to balance out. The value of that call option doesn't move after hours, but the share price does. So just a little bit of a quirk here with Tasty Trade. Right now, neutral going into tomorrow's price action. And I'm not sure I'm going to hold anything through Microsoft and Google tomorrow, especially with what we've seen here from Meta. Tesla did well, and that was great, but Meta going down 12% is very aggressive. Microsoft, I think, will be fine, but Google definitely dependent on that ad space the same way that Meta is, and Meta seems to be a bit of a precursor. And then looking at the Russell, basically no change here today. It was down about 88 cents. I had the call option that protected me, so I only lost a little bit. And then I have a call option for tomorrow for 83 cents again. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of Meta earnings. Is it a precursor for big tech, or was this just a standalone event and it was too extended to the upside? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.